In the trans community, we talk a lot about seeing ourselves in the mirror for the first time. That first glance when you see yourself as who you truly are, who you're meant to be. It seems cheesy and oversimplified, and I believe it actually is. When I was younger, I never had much of a community. I was trans without the word for transness, an awkward preteen already awkward by being preteen, the nervous, acne-prone phase of everyone's life where they become a stranger to themselves. I had no other trans kids that I knew, and I only knew one or two queer adults, neither of which were trans. I had no one I could reach out to and be given the compassion and respect that I desperately needed back. This continued for 3 years until 8th grade, when I attended my first Rainbow Ball, an overnight program for queer youth run by Out Maine. Previously, I had thought of myself as unique, not in a necessarily good way, but in a way that I knew no one else who was experiencing the things I was experiencing could see no one else like me in my daily life or in my community. There, I was a queer kid from a small town surrounded by queer kids from small towns. They were laughing to themselves, whispering, dancing out of music, blaring from a tinny speakerphone. Their queerness was not suffering, but joy. Finally, I was one of them. I was one of many. I was first able to see myself through community, something that I lacked even before I came out. Always different, but never understanding why. After Rainbow Ball, I realized I had the space to exist, the space to be myself without fear of judgment. I try to capture this feeling in many of my poems, this community, this reflection of myself, as well as the strength I put forth in my own community, working to uplift others so they can feel that as well. And how many bones will you break before you remember where to put your hands? I reflect on this through the lens of a fish turning to a fisher. How many bones will you hear break before you remember where to put your hands? 150 fit like puzzle pieces in that minuscule body, opened from the inside. You crawled out of the fisher's bucket, filled with their bodies in black water, familiarity, and numbers. Each slick scale, 5 different memories, all wrong. From your gills sprouted fingers, from your fins gnashing teeth, you've come out all wrong, already to gut the same boy with his rough fingers, pulling the seawater-stained meat out of something that used to look identical to you. You look like the fisher now, but you will open the bucket of their bodies, let the ocean fill their lungs. You will gut the boy and set the fish free. Though visceral, this poem reflects on my change and reflection from an awkward, freshly out trans kid to someone now with the ability to use my voice to uplift those struggling, freshly out and unable to find community. I'm also able to see myself through leadership, the ability to help those often misunderstood and harmed by their efforts to find those close to them. In the mid-1920s, the US government removed the wolves from Yellowstone in an attempt to tame the wilderness. I, as someone who often finds himself and others suppressing his queer identity in order to make it more palatable to those around me, relate to these wolves. Yellowstone wolves, the bird becomes a river. They take you as the heavy weight of the bird clutched in the maw of the Canis lupus. No forethought to see that every strand of fur a feather, a murmuring promise of salvation. They took the wolves away in the thought that the moon would no longer linger behind your eyes. All they remove is the bite and the temporary shade of blue surging like Yellowstone River. Ere the color of morning pulled open, they return the wolves, and among them you, every strand of fur a feather, a howling promise of salvation. Through my work, I have returned the wolves of Yellowstone integral to the ecosystem. A few months after Rainbow Ball, I applied to work on Outmain's Youth Advisory Board, the youth voices behind many Outmain programs, as well as ones at Rainbow Ball. A year and a half after that, we were able to secure our first grant, and after 4 long months of work, we were able to turn that into an accessible hike for queer youth and adults in a local mountain near my town. At first, no one arrived. I was returned to that nervous, freshly out kid I had been years before, unable to make change in his community and unable to make the spaces he needed for others to feel welcome as well. Eventually, though, people started to arrive. They ranged in age from 12 to 58, and no matter their age, they looked nervous. Nervous to be in the new space, nervous to be around new people that, while assured would be supportive, were unpredictable. Nervous, the kind of nerves you develop after years of being out in a small state. Eventually, though, by the end of the hike, everyone was talking to someone they had just met, no matter if they had been introduced by a facilitator or not. As I looked around, I realized I was creating the community that I desperately needed when I was younger, the community that I and many others still need to this day. And I hadn't gotten there in an instant. Besides the 4 long months of planning, it had taken me years to grow my confidence, engagement with my community. It had taken my time and effort to grow into the person I am today. I will still always be that nervous, freshly out queer kid that I was 5 years before. But I also will always be shedding that skin, growing into a more confident, assertive version of myself. If you're a nervous, freshly out queer kid like I was, or even someone who's looked in the mirror today and realized that what you see, what you do, or who you are doesn't necessarily match up with who you want to be, let me offer you this. It's not one glance. It's thousands of glances that make up who you are, and moreover, it's the engagement you make in your community, your passions, and the art you create. And it's the change you instill in others to open their eyes to a changed reflection. Thank you.